Hi, Megan McKenzie. Are you? Hello. Hey guys, thanks for joining me. We are doing another Science Center events vendor spotlight Q&A today with Kristen Wynn Photography. Just waiting for her to arrive. We'll be chatting about wedding trends and what we've been up to during quarantine and just chatting about, oh, there she is. Let me add her. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well, can't complain.
Yeah, I love the hair.
Oh, thank you.
For those of you watching, I'm saying that specifically because Kristen said that this would be a reason for her to do her hair for once today.
Yeah, I used to really.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Looks like we got some more people coming in, so happy to see lots of our event planning friends from around Pittsburgh. We miss everyone so much. We miss you, and of course, we are trying to stay safe and shelter in place and all that jazz. But we miss our friends, so I'm glad that we can connect this way, at least.
I see Brianna. Her wedding was at the Science Center last August.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
it was August the 4th or the 8th, around there. So,
Oh, okay. I
okay.
see my friend Nikki is joining us. Hello, Nikki. Nikki is in the midst of planning her wedding right now, so perhaps we can share some helpful tips for her today. All right, so it looks like we got a pretty good gang here. If we want to get started, let's start off with some introductions. My name's Nicole Chenoweth. I work at the Science Center in the marketing department, and I have the great pleasure of helping to promote our spaces for special event rentals. And Kristen, tell us a bit about you.
So I'm Kristen Wynn with Kristen Wynn Photography, and I have been a wedding photographer for 11 years. So do a lot of events at the Science Center and do a lot of events all around town.
Awesome. So I wanted to talk a little bit about trends today. I thought that would be something fun and positive that we could jump right into. So what are some trends that you see coming into play over the next few months or over the next year?
Okay, so I was thinking about how I started to see at the end of last year a lot of that, what they're calling like the classic blue color. Um, some people will call it like a Bud Light blue if you want to like really think about what that color is. But I'm seeing that a lot more than you used to see kind of the blush pink a little bit more, right? So I think the classic blue is coming in to style for next year and the end of this year too. And we started to see it a little bit like last summer and fall. So definitely that. Also, I'm seeing like a lot more people do the self-uniting ceremonies now so that you can have a friend that's maybe not, an actual pastor or officiant marry you. So I'm starting to see that more. And then I've had a few actually in the last 6 months. I've had two kind of 20s inspired weddings because we're in the 20s now.
Ooh.
So yeah, and you can go either just like a little bit inspired, maybe just like some headbands, which I'm super into headbands, so I do love it. So you could do that, or you can go like all the way, full like 20s look. Like I had a bride wear an actual vintage headpiece from her great grandma.
I
So
love
yeah,
that.
so the whole trend, like you can do, the 20s furs, or you could just do like a little bit of it. So I think that's coming into style now because we're in the 20s now. So I kind of see those as a trends, like the classic blue, the self-uniting, and then the kind of the 20s inspired look right now.
Very cool. I love the idea of like a total Gatsby
Yeah.
wedding. That just sounds like the party of the century. Really into
And
that.
even like the vintage car too, can kind of connect with
Yeah.
as one. So it's kind of a neat little ride to the reception.
Yeah. Very cool. Oh, my friend Stacy just joined us. Hi there, Stacy. Um, Again, for those of you just joining us, my name's Nicole. I work at the Science Center, and I'm chatting here today with Kristen Wynn, one of my personal favorite photographers in the Pittsburgh area. Kristen, I love so many of your shots that come in from the Science Center events that you've done at our space. We've used a lot of them actually for some of our marketing materials, and I just want to hear a bit more about your aesthetic as a photographer. What inspires you? What do you look for when you're at an event shooting?
So something I do is I actually will scout all of my weddings. I go to the church, I go to the hotel, the church, I go to the Science Center or the event space beforehand. And you might think, well, you've already been at the Science Center. You were there, in 18, you were there in 19. No, I still go because a couple things. Stuff changes, right? Maybe a shot you counted on, maybe the light's not quite right anymore. Maybe they moved it. It's a little different. That's first. Secondly, I don't like to do the same shots for every couple. That might not be, it might not be their aesthetic. You might be forcing something if you just, oh, I always do this shot here. I'm not real big into that. I like to take into account each couple. Like, for example, I had Sam and Sean got married at the Science Center when Point View Hall first opened. And they wanted to do a little bit more of the exhibits, and their colors were a little brighter. So like the red wall, they wanted to go into the Lego exhibit at the time.
Oh my gosh, yes, the art of the brick.
Yeah. So they wanted to do that. So I went and looked at that in advance to kind of think about it. But then Brianna got married last summer, and they were a little bit more using the space as a blank slate and just keeping it really white and bright. So with her, I wasn't going to be looking for the same things for photos. I was going to more focus on the balcony and the sunset shots rather than maybe, go into I think Da Vinci was the exhibit at the time, right? So I still look before every single wedding, I look for my main plan, I look for my rain plan. So I don't care if I've been to the venue 10 times, I still go the week of the wedding because I have to get an idea for the couple and then the kind of shots that I want to do for them and then what's available and then also factor in the time. So, so that's I try to do something different too every time because you don't want to stagnate. So there's that. And then also as far as what I kind of look for, I'm really big into light. I don't watch a ton of TV, but when I do watch TV, I'm trying to look at the lighting, for example, I just watched 1918, I think it's called. It's that World
1917.
War 1917, okay.
Phenomenal film. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
I get it wrong every time. But I kind of like to look at the light in that and how they lit that. Just different ways, just a little bit of a darker style, a little bit of a moodier style. They had a scene where mortars were going off and I thought, well, that's interesting for if fireworks are going off. So kind of just looking at things outside of just weddings to kind of get an idea of kind of a inspiration.
Very cool. We got lucky with some comments from our followers. We asked some folks to share their questions for you. So our friend Allison, she wants to know, what's the most important question you think brides and grooms should ask a potential photographer?
Okay, so I have two. I've got one that's surface level and then one that's a deep cut, okay?
Okay, so, I'm ready for it.
Okay, so surface level is, can I see a whole gallery? A whole wedding, start to finish. And the reason why is because I'm obviously going to put my best shots on Instagram. I'm going to put my best shots on my blog. But I want you to see everything, maybe areas of weakness, areas where I deliver more images, areas where I focus less, right? So you can kind of get really a true, unfiltered, honest look at my work so that you can know what you're going to receive. So that's my general comment. A very, very, very deep dive question is to ask, if you as a photographer were getting married tomorrow, who would photograph your wedding? Because that's going to tell you who the photographer feels are some of their competitors or some of their, highest highest praise for people in the area and who they think is also similar to their style and
Mhm.
almost who they aspire to be or who they feel is on par with them. So yeah, that's a question I've been asked before, and I'm like, that was a good one. So it kind of gives you an idea of and an honest, very honest answer to kind of tell you who they think is also very good and up to their level.
Great answer. Any do's or don'ts for creating a shot list?
Oh, it depends on your photographer. I don't mind. Um, but some photographers are very, um, maybe they're not as type A or as like comprehensive. Like I really run by a timeline and a schedule, and my assistant kind of keeps track of that throughout the day. So some people really go by emotion and they just want to feel the moment. So you kind of have to know your photographer and what they would prefer. I say I don't mind. I definitely look it over, and we can kind of use it as an inspiration. We don't want to like directly copy somebody's shot, but we
Right.
can just use it as inspiration. I'm open to it, but you don't have to write, for the most part, if you trust your photographer and you've seen a full gallery. You don't have to waste your time and write first kiss, first dance, um,
Right.
you know, like me saying my vows, walking down the aisle. Like save yourself time. Don't write all that because that's like that's too much. We know to get that, but things that we wouldn't know, like I always use this example. The three generation shot. Maybe it's mom, bride, grandma, or dad, bride, grandpa, or something. Write down that because that's not really like a standard shot.
Yeah, so I got married in October,
Okay.
and my husband's family is pretty big, and we had a pretty big bridal party. We had, I think, 7 on each side. Um, so I went through and made like the super detailed, like every possible combination of human beings. And I think I might have like got a little bit overboard. But then on the day of, I was so glad that we did have that list because my girl Abby Swalga from Cheers to You event planning, she was like on it with a highlighter
Right.
going through, and I was so grateful to like have every possible shot. And then of course later I like thought of like alternate groups of people that I was like, I didn't have that on the list. And my photographer was Rebecca Lessner from With Joy Photography, and she was so great at being like, it's cool, just find them, we'll get the shot.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's like it's important to have a good combination of like having that list,
Right.
but then also recognizing you're going to think of shots that you didn't know you wanted before. So yeah, great advice there. Let's see, another follower question. What's your favorite part of a wedding day while shooting?
So to shoot, obviously my favorite part is, I think every photographer is going to say bride and groom, like portrait time. And we hope that that's like the couple's favorite time too, the wedding couple. We hope it's their favorite time as well, because it's a time that like they can actually spend a little bit of time together. Nobody's interrupting. Those are the shots that you're probably going to have on your wall forever. Nice shot of the two of you. So that's my favorite is wedding couple time. Um, my favorite part of the day is when I actually, the couple's ready to walk in at the reception. They're outside the glass doors. We can see them. They're ready to come in. That's my favorite time of the day because mentally I'm a little bit more freed up in that now I'm just capturing like what happens throughout the reception, right? So I would say that, and I think my assistant would say probably first look if the couple chooses to do that. So yeah, I would say wedding couple portrait time.
That's awesome. Let's show some love to our fellow vendors. Who are some vendors, whether it's flowers, lighting, who are some vendors that have created work that you just really love and admire?
Yeah, absolutely. So for DJs, I really like Second to None. So one of the DJs, DJ Big Nick, he's great, and I actually went to high school with him. But
Oh,
what's really nice about him is he's actually a pastor during his day job, but he really
wow.
that like calm, that calmness, that like maturity, that responsibility, but then he also makes it a great party. And Second to None, one thing I like about them is if you don't have a big dancing crowd, maybe it's an older crowd or people are a little uncomfortable to like freestyle during the fast dance portion. They do, if you want it, they do a lot of like getting them involved. Like they'll do the dance from Do you remember the movie Hitch? Do you remember how like
Yes.
come down? They'll do that so people feel a little more comfortable, like being
Aw.
assigned, like you go. You know what I mean? Like it's more
Yeah.
supportive environment for dancing versus like, I'm not the best at like, doing my own thing out there. So they're really great. I really like C. Jane Blush for makeup. She does a really great job. She's been in the business. It was, gosh, it's been at least 11 or 12 years. So she does a really great like natural look. Alicia Evans, she does wedding hair, and I like her so much that I'll drive all the way out to Ross to get like my regular hair done by her.
Oh,
Yeah, after like seeing her work and working with her, I just really love what she does. And again, like she can work with curly hair, she can work with straight hair, just kind of like meet you where you are. Um, and so yeah, I drive all the way out there to get my hair done. Haven't done that in a while. Hopefully they'll be open soon. So they're great. Floral, we just work with Bloom and Garden. So they're awesome. So yeah, just I rarely have a vendor that I don't like.
right. We're very fortunate in this community that everyone's just, Pittsburgh's great,
Right.
top to bottom. What's your favorite season to photograph for weddings?
So I'm impartial, or partial. I'm partial to winter, for a couple of,
Oh,
yeah. So I myself years ago got married in the winter. I do think that, just like keeping it 100% honest, our winter brides get a little more attention. Our winter couples get a little more attention because we're not doing so many weddings back to back. We maybe can spend a little more time, doing some fine-tune edits. Also, what's great about winter is it's not so dependent on the weather, right? There's less like weather disappointment. We thought it was gonna be beautiful and now we're stuck inside. We kind of know we might be stuck inside. So if we can get outside, it's a bonus.
right.
And the lighting for a photographer, the lighting's easier in the winter. It's quicker. It's more overcast. So for me, it's just faster to work with them. Um, and yeah, I just like it because I have fewer weddings in the winter, but I can really get my anticipation and excitement up for each one. If I just have one January and one February and one March, plus I don't know, the air feels great outside. I like it, and it breaks up for the guests too. That monotony of a very long Pittsburgh winter, November to March, you might be the only wedding they have to go to that winter. So
Right. Give them a reason to celebrate. Yeah.
yeah,
Very
something.
fun. I love winter weddings because of how you can incorporate like the faux furs.
Right.
Like I've been seeing a lot of like those beautiful shawls, and I saw one somewhere recently where like all the bridesmaids, they all had them, and oh, it was like so elegant and just classy, and I loved it. Let's see. Let's take another question from one of our followers. What are your favorite and least favorite spots to photograph around Pittsburgh?
Okay. Okay, so I should say there's no like this is kind of getting deep. There's no like least favorite and favorite. It's more like challenging and how much time we have, right? So if we have a ton of time, I'll photograph anywhere. I can make, any spot work. It's more if we only have like 5 minutes and we have a really tough spot, it's hard to get a lot of quantity and like a lot of different poses for your, bang for your buck on time. So I'll kind of tell you like sort of my favorite and least favorite. I'm not a big fan of West End Overlook because the city sometimes can be like this big and you're like this big right here. So it's kind of far away in the background. And the lighting up there could be pretty bright up there. Same thing with honestly, least favorite is probably like around the inclines, the platforms near the incline. The fence is so high, it blocks the view. So you think you're gonna get this beautiful view, but it's like 90% of it's a fence.
Yeah.
Not huge on that. Same thing with the regular overlooks, right? They have fences and people have written like curse words and like drew nasty stuff on there. So I have spots on Mount Washington I prefer where there's no fence at all, which I take my couples to because I just prefer like a clean like view of the city, not like a garbagey like graffiti and something gross I got to Photoshop out later.
Yeah.
That and another spot people love, and it's not a bad spot, but it's tricky, is Clemente Bridge. it's you got to be careful because the traffic is there, and it sometimes can be really very bright there. So that's kind of like those are just like trickier spots. And I'm not a big hotel lobby person, so those are my kind of like my. It's just not great for my style, and they're very busy. People are walking through while like the bride and groom are kissing, so you know.
Yeah.
And then my like favorite spots, I really, of course, still like the CMU columns in Oakland. Everyone loves that. I'm big on rooftops. I'm big on balconies. I'm big on just like architecture of any kind, you know. And then I do like going in the different Carnegie museums because, you know, just even in the art museum, they have like that great colorful wall. You know, the Science Center, I've done that cool shot with the T-Rex when you guys had the Lego exhibit. That kind of thing. As long as we have time, I love to kind of get in there and get creative and light it up.
I love that for I think it was Sam and Sean's wedding that you utilize the planet wall on
Yeah,
the way up our ramp. I think that's just like such a fun science center. Like there's nowhere else in town that you could really get that kind of cool solar system shot. And it always looks so great, but like not like too kiddish or like
right,
juvenile, you know. It's just like you can tell this is where they got married.
right.
So I love seeing shots like those. I also love whenever we have weddings in Buell Planetarium.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. They're like the most beautiful, magical, otherworldly
right.
events. We just had a couple get married in there a couple months ago, and oh my gosh, just like what's better than getting married under the stars and then for them to be able to customize those stars, you know, to suit whatever you're looking for. I think that's one of the coolest offerings that we have at the
Come
Science Center.
have one together in the Buell Planetarium.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you were there, right? They kind of did their walkthrough and they did some different ideas. Like they might do even some trees projected.
Yes.
Because they're coming from Colorado, so they kind of want to incorporate like his, you know, his hometown and his love of like outdoors too. So
Yeah.
I think that it's not just stars. You can kind of have different kind of options there too.
Yeah. The forest one was absolutely breathtaking. I
Yeah.
love that. We even had a proposal in there one time that they like drew in the stars. She said yes at
Oh,
the end and they took photos. It was so cool.
it is
I
cool.
see my friend Erin just commented Ross and Rachel with the planetarium reference. For anyone that's a big fan of the show Friends, yes, Buell Planetarium is it's a very Ross and Rachel kind of vibe there.
Do you know I have barely seen any episode of Friends? Like,
We have to talk.
I'm not a big TV person.
I grew up watching that show. That was like the first show that I was like totally obsessed with, and I would act out like whatever was happening in the episode with my Barbie dolls as a kid. So Friends will always have a special place in my heart.
My sister's seen like every episode, so I'll ask her because I know Ross was like a paleontologist, right? Like a scientist.
Yes. Yes.
I'll ask her about the planetarium.
Yeah, yeah. It's a cute episode. They have like a little date night at the museum. It's cute.
Cool.
Erin wants to know what's the best themed wedding you've ever photographed?
Oh gosh. So I do like New Year's Eve themed weddings. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I've done a ton of themes. I've done two 20s weddings, like I mentioned. Those are both recently. Maybe I've done more than that, maybe 3 in my career. New Year's Eve I've done. I don't know if I've had any other super strong themes. I mean, obviously, like there are more, what's a word for like less of a theme, an aesthetic, right? Like sometimes people have
Yes.
like they might have an undercurrent of like Tuscany, or they might have an undercurrent of you know, like bright colors or something. So I've done more stuff like that. But I'm not opposed to like a good theme. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. I went to one in October that was it was my friend Paul and Adrian's wedding, and they had a very subtle Harry Potter aesthetic
Okay.
throughout. And like it was so well done, like from the favors on the table to like the seating charts and just like different little touches like that, like an undercurrent of Harry Potter. And it was funny, like I told her afterwards, it was like that was so incredible. Like I can't believe like that must have been so much work, you know, throwing that together. And she's like, we thought of it at the very last minute and just made it happen. And it turned out so well. I myself am not like a crazy Harry Potter fan, but it was like I could appreciate it. It was really well done.
So for your wedding that was in October, did you have any kind of like light theme or light, kind of?
It's funny you ask. So my husband and I are really into antiquing. We collect a lot of 60s and 70s stuff. Our whole apartment is like a blast from the past. I see Erin and Stacy in the comments right now laughing about this. So I did like a 70s wedding, but it wasn't like disco balls and like tacky 70s.
Right.
I made my own flowers. They were floral hoops with silk flowers, and I did like a very wildflower
Okay.
look. My veil, I got it at a flea market from a lady that buys like 60s and 70s clothing at flea markets in New York City. My dress had like these big bell sleeves.
Yes.
It was from Anthropologie's Beholden line. And all of our colors were like bright orange, goldenrod yellow, and avocado green.
That's like a little bit of a theme. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it turned out. Oh, thank you, Megan. Megan was there, and she said it was stunning. It turned out exactly the way I wanted it to look. It was a lot of work. I did a lot of it myself. Well, I cannot take full credit. I had an amazing crew of bridesmaids that were there every step of the way. But it's so worth it to like pick that thing that you and your significant other have in common, that like you're passionate about, that you are able to depict visually on your wedding day. Because like every time I look at our photos now, I'm just like, there's absolutely nothing I would have changed. Like
Right.
we nailed it, you know.
That kind of reminds me, like the way you describe it kind of reminds me of have you ever seen a show? I have seen every episode of The Wonder Years.
Yes, Matt loves Wonder Years.
Yeah, when the older gets married, and it's very like bohemian, and the parents don't really understand it. Like, but yes, I like picture that entirely. That's kind of what she did with like the bell sleeves and stuff, I think.
Yeah. It was so much fun, and we had the music to go with it, and our first dance was a Beach Boys song, and it was just like flower child.
Yes, that's the phrase I was thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Thanks for letting me gush about my wedding.
No, I like to hear about it. That's a theme I haven't had before. I do like that. That's cool.
Yeah. Ask me some questions.
I do have some questions for you.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Okay, so, okay, what would you be if you didn't have the job you have now doing events with the Science Center? And also, like, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Okay, so I knew in the 5th grade that I wanted to be a journalist.
Okay.
I was very fortunate that the first few years of my career I did get to live my dream, and I wrote for the Tribune Review and the Hanover Evening Sun and the Central Penn Business Journal, and absolutely loved it. When I was a kid, though, I had grandiose dreams of the minute I graduated high school, I wanted to move to New York City with my childhood best friend, Nick Tursick, and we were going to try out for Saturday Night Live. Because we think we're the funniest people on earth. And my mom was like, yeah, okay, we'll see.
Allowed to watch Saturday Night Live when you were a kid? Because I don't even think I knew what that was. I wasn't allowed.
Yeah. Well, my family owned a bar, so like late hours, that was
right.
Pretty usual thing around our house. So yes, I wanted to be Sherry O'Terry in the worst way when I was a kid, the Spartan cheerleaders thing. Like that's when I was like, I want to be her. I want to make people laugh that hard.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thing.
Oh, thanks. What about you?
I didn't know that you had been a journalist. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was a kid, when I was in like 5th grade, I really wanted to be an archaeologist. I would tell people that all the time. Yeah, I had a little kit that you could like unearth like pyramids and stuff. Like I was super into like going to the history museum and like looking at the Egyptology stuff. Oh, I love that. Like yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah, I love that. And people would say, "Oh, dinosaurs," and I would correct them and I'd be like, "That's a paleontologist," and I want to be an archaeologist. So that's what I wanted to do as a kid. I went to school to be a teacher. just did some substituting and stuff for a little bit. But in college, I was already doing photography, working for a wedding photographer here in Pittsburgh, like in the summer. So I just kind of kept going with that after I looked for a teaching job. And so I did that. And if I wasn't doing wedding photography now, I think I would be either a personal organizer, because I really love doing that, or like organizing people's homes, like, decluttering and stuff. Or like a pipe dream. I would have loved to have been a physician. So
Wow, that's
yeah,
big.
all different things. I
Very
like all.
cool. A little bit of everything.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. And then I have another question for you is,
Okay.
okay, so have you been watching like trashy quarantine TV? And if so, what do you think of the weddings on those like Love is Blind type shows?
Okay. Bless those women on Love is Blind for being like, sure, I'll go to one bridal shop
Right?
and be like, yep, this is it. That I was like, I would have never, there's no way that I would have been able to do that.
Right.
I,
A choice of like what, four dresses? Like these are the four you can pick. That's it.
right. And then like, I mean, to some extent, it's like nice to have a stranger's feedback, like how they were there with like the other cast members to like, and like one random family member or girlfriend to like give them feedback. But like, I would have like needed to fly in my whole girl gang,
Right.
mom, grandma, everyone, and like mapped out at least like 3 or 4 shops.
Right.
So kudos to them for figuring it out. I thought, I'm gonna mess up her name. Is it Gianna
Oh my gosh,
Giabelli?
her dress?
She had the best dress.
That's what
far.
I do.
Her whole look was like phenomenal.
We all said that here. Like my sister.
Yeah.
Yes, she had the best. Absolutely.
For decor, I liked Lauren and Cameron's the
Me too.
best because they had the mauve, right?
Yes.
I think.
Like purple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, I flew through that show in like 2 days.
Me
I
too.
could not I couldn't get enough. I haven't watched Married at First Sight yet.
Okay, I'm watching that now.
Okay.
69.
You'll have to tell me how it is.
It's so think about how this isn't spoilers, but think about how Love is Blind, how they had I think they got engaged, they went on like a trip, they lived together, and they had the wedding, right? It's almost the same thing except for it's you get engaged and married without seeing them. Then oh, that's a funny comment.
For those of you that are not already aware, Mark is 24 and Jessica is 34. Don't forget. Oh
She only mentioned it about 50 times. So it's kind of the same thing where they have the wedding, then they do a honeymoon, then they move in together, and then there is a decision day where they decide if they're going to stay married. So like almost the same thing, basically, as Love is Blind. It's almost like a similar show, but same kind of thing with the weddings. Everybody had their wedding at the same place. I think on like 2 back-to-back days, they had like, the same amount of guests, and then they got the same thing. It was like all the girls went to one shop. They got like 4 dresses to pick from. I think they probably got to pick like from maybe 4 different rings, 4 different like bouquets. So very cookie cutter, right? And as a photographer, I was dying because some people got a bad time of day. The light was really bright, and I was like, oh, I can't watch this. And yeah, I was like, no, look, like this isn't working. They need to move them to the shade. Like as a photographer, I was getting worked up. But I will say this. The photos, they actually showed the wedding photos on the show. Like they get a wedding album, and a lot of them look beautiful. So hands down, big props to the photographer that probably shot like 4 weddings in 4 days or whatever. They looked
great. Figured it out. Wow.
Yeah, they did a really good job. So I was like, let's see how this is, And no, it was like a legit real wedding photographer. But yeah, there was they just let them, bright midday sun right on their faces.
Oh my God.
But that show is like, it's another show. You could watch the whole thing in 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to add it to my list. I also watched, it's not like trashy per se, but just like living vicariously through other people. Fairy tale weddings on Disney Plus.
Okay. I don't have
People
Disney Plus.
get married at Disney, and oh my gosh.
Like in front of the castle.
Yeah, there was the one episode they got married in front of the castle at like midnight, and they did the like the big fireworks and light display. And then my favorite wedding was they got married in Epcot. I think the groom was Chinese, and they got married in like the China part of Epcot and had like a Chinese theme all throughout the wedding. And it was gorgeous, like bright red and yellow everywhere. It was really cool.
Do they still do like it used to be a thing. They still do like the glass coach if you want it with like the footmen that are like
Oh,
trying,
I didn't see that on any of the
okay,
episodes, but that would be pretty baller.
like that would be like the big thing when I lived in Florida was like if you had the Disney wedding and it was in front of the castle, you would get the glass, like all glass coach, and the four people that like help you are dressed as like Cinderella's footmen. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
neat. So neat.
so magical.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that.
Yes. What else you got for me? Let's do a couple more.
Okay, what would you want to see more of at weddings? Like, I'm always pushing, not pushing, just a personal thing. I love what I call presentation bouquets. Like, you hold them like a baby, right? Like a pageant.
Yeah.
Like, I really want that to make a comeback. So, what are some things that you would really want to see?
Hmm. Let me think here. Well, at the Science Center, I love, and like this is kind of hard to do because if it's not like a part of you, you don't want to force it. But I love when couples go with like little touches of science or geekery here and there. We've had a couple clients do like their cake topper would be made out of Lego minifigs. There was an amazing cake by Tasty Bakery that was like a celestial solar system look. So I love seeing couples getting creative with like connecting what they love with the venue they're at.
Right.
Not to like keep blabbing on about my wedding.
No,
But we got our reception was at the Lamplighter in Delmont.
Okay.
And part of why we picked it was because it's a family-owned business. It's been there forever, and it fit our like nice like 70s vibe perfectly. And they were so generous with like helping us plan every little detail that they gave me their 1960s menu that had this amazing, colorful, like flower power design. And I copied it and used it on all of my invitations and stationery. So I love seeing couples get creative with things like that, where they're able to connect somehow back to their venue. So I think in 2020, I'm in total favor of any and all like science themed.
Yeah, like lean it a little bit because that's
Yeah.
a reason. And it's, yeah, you don't want to be like, well, let's just ignore where we're getting married. Like, it doesn't have to be like, I mean, we don't all have to wear like lab coats and glasses, but
right.
Like,
yeah. But there's other things that you can do.
I was thinking like how, have you ever seen like mixology wise, like when people do like molecular bartending, right?
Yes.
Maybe like have some stuff in beakers or have some stuff with like dry ice. Like something that is cool. And it's also like an experience for the guests. It's entertainment and it's like food and drink. I'm into that. Like food and drink as entertainment.
We have some awesome science presenters on our staff that do the liquid nitrogen cocktails as an add-on, and they like picture wise they never don't look good. Like it's always a big powerful visual whether you're like at the event itself or you're looking at the pictures afterwards. So that's something I love to see couples incorporate, especially if they're doing an event in our works theater, which is like our most industrial looking, like sciencey kind of space. I love seeing like a liquid nitrogen cocktail bar in the works theater is just,
that's cool.
Love that. Yeah, love that.
And you have to think like a lot of people coming to the wedding, a lot of guests, they haven't been in the Science Center in probably, since their kids were little, 20 years.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of bring that in a little bit. Just so they can kind of experience it, and it's not just another wedding to them. Like there's unique elements that they're like, we did it one of the Science Center, it was so cool, we saw this and this. Like people like that because it really makes it stand out, I think.
Yeah. I see Bridget's in the comments. She loves all the demos. Bridget, I'm curious. Tell me what your favorite demo is that we do at weddings. I'll be looking for your answer. So
tell me like demos. So So what are some of the demos that people can do? Like I know, aviary does like certain birds. Like what can they do at the Science Center? I'm not even aware of like all the options.
So, Boo Bubbles is a really cool demo that's incredibly popular with kids' birthdays. Okay, yeah, Bridget's saying definitely liquid nitrogen cocktails. They're just gorgeous. It's a nice showpiece. Boo Bubbles, that's like another dry ice demonstration, and it creates these neat like crystal ball looking like bubbles, and it's a wow factor.
Yeah.
That's why I love like whenever our events team's able to incorporate any of our science demos into an event, because they're just these gorgeous showpieces. I'm trying to think of another one. I don't know if we do it for events so much, but like something that's a hit at like our 21 plus nights, whenever we bring it out, is the Van de Graaff generator, which is like the big silver ball that you put your hand on and your hair goes crazy.
Yeah.
Like that never gets old.
Like
People always love that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Rubens tube, that's another cool one. It's like a tube that like fire comes out of it, and you can have it so that like the fire, I'm probably embarrassing my more science educated colleagues right now by trying to explain this, but you can play music and the fire will like kind of dance along to the music, and they've like used it to make s'mores. Like they'll make s'mores over top of the Rubens tube. Oh, another one, my friend Megan's saying liquid nitrogen frozen marshmallows. Those are delicious and also really fun to watch whenever they make those.
That's cool. I didn't even know most of those things. I knew about the cocktails a little bit, but I didn't even know about most of those. So
yeah, you'll have to come back when we reopen.
Yeah, I want to come to 21 and overnights. I've never been able to.
They're so fun.
Because I've always like had a wedding the next day, but hopefully I'll be able to get there, because that sounds
awesome.
After dark.
Right. It's so much fun.
Cool.
Let's see. Let's end on a positive note here. Tell me about one thing that you've been grateful for during quarantine.
Oh gosh. I would say probably, okay, I'll tell you this. So I've been doing this 11 years. The entire, I think 10 and a half years of that, I have been behind on blogging and sending out like galleries to like local Pittsburgh publishers and blogs and like magazines, right? That always slips through the cracks. You just move on to the next one. So I have gotten to be 100% all updated on my blog, all updated on my social media. Yeah, I'm excited. It only
did it.
Pandemic. I got it all updated. So, and I'm actually working on a new website too. So hopefully I get that done,
Ooh.
Shortly here. So yeah, I'm grateful to have, like I've been working the whole time, pretty much, I've been busy the whole time. I haven't been bored at all. I always have something I'm working on. So I've been grateful to kind of just get caught up, basically just caught up, ready to go for, the new season when we go back. So yeah, I've been grateful for that, to finally get some of those to-do list items done.
Nice. Very cool.
You been?
I'm super, super grateful for things like FaceTime and the House Party app to be able to stay connected with. I have a 2-year-old niece, Aria, so we try to FaceTime every other day. She's growing up so fast. I'm really excited. Today, I just got the notification from Target. I ordered her, Poppy from the movie Trolls.
Okay.
She's like the pink-haired one. So my mother had just gotten Aria like a Trolls Poppy outfit, and I just ordered her the headband that's like the troll hair. And it's supposed to arrive today, and I texted my brother and he's like, great, we'll FaceTime you whenever it gets here so you can watch her open it. So I'm like really thankful for things like FaceTime that allow me to still connect with my loved ones.
Are they local? Is your niece local?
Yeah, they're in Kennedy Township. So
okay.
We've done like little drive-by visits every now and then where I just like hang out in their driveway and she waves,
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
But yeah.
Some people are connecting more. I've been talking on the phone with my photographer friend Charlene. We've been talking like every other day. And before this, we never talked on the phone. So like
Yeah.
connecting more because you have a little more time and you're working harder to keep those connections. So
Right, right. Yeah, it's awesome. Also, I'm in big favor of like Zoom happy hours.
okay.
That's been a lot of fun with my group of rowdier friends. We've done a couple Zoom happy hours, and those are always a blast. So yes, thankful for technology during
Yeah.
this time. And I'm thankful for you and that we were able to do this. And I've still enjoyed sharing your work this week on our page. And thank you for being so generous with your time and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
sharing your thoughts on everything from weddings to trashy TV.
It was so good to talk to you too, finally, like face to face, not just on the email.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, Kristen, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too.
And I think we got one more post with you tomorrow. And next up is Mocha Rose. Very excited for that. Yeah. So, all right,
Okay.
Kristen, take care.
I'll
Thank
see
you.
soon. Okay, bye.